neglected ship, abandoned by all. A human mechanic rebuilt it into the galaxy's deadliest weapon, far beyond the busiest trade lanes of the galaxy. In a sector that most ships avoided, floated a massive ship forgotten by all. Its hull was scratched and faded, metal corroded in patches, and its once bright lights were now dim and cold. Long ago, it had been one of the most advanced warships of an alien coalition. But warships did not last forever, and one by one, the aliens abandoned it. For decades, it drifted silently, a ghost in space. Legends about the ship spread across the nearby systems. Some said it was cursed. Others whispered that it had failed its final battle. Its crew vanished into the dark void. Most species gave it wide berth. They saw a rusting hulk, broken and useless. But to Jalen, a human mechanic, the ship was not useless. Jalen had grown up hearing stories about human engineers and explorers. Humans could fix anything, adapt to anything, survive anywhere. That was his pride, his calling. While others avoided the wreck, he saw potential. The stars reflected in his eyes as he piloted his small, patched-up scout vessel closer to the abandoned warship. Its size was intimidating, massive enough to hold hundreds of alien crew. It looked like a floating city turned to dust. When he docked, the docking bay groaned as if complaining about being disturbed after so many years. The airlock hissed, revealing a corridor full of dust, debris, and broken panels. Shadows stretched along the walls where light struggled to reach. The control panels were cracked, their alien symbols faded. Most people would have turned back, but not Jalen. He set down his toolkit and drone. The small drone buzzed softly, ready to scan and assist. Jalen's fingers itched with excitement. He touched the first panel. Sparks flew, just a minor shock. The ship was old, but it was still alive. Somewhere deep inside, its power core still pulsed, waiting. Jalen worked carefully, moving through the ship's corridors. Every step revealed signs of the ship's past. Personal quarters filled with relics of alien lives. Med bays with broken equipment. Storage rooms with crates left untouched. It was eerie, but Jalen did not fear it. He loved it. Every broken machine was a puzzle. Every forgotten system was a challenge. He discovered the engineering bay next. Ancient tools were scattered across the floor, half-melted panels hanging from the walls. But in the center, a massive console still glowed faintly. Jalen wiped away decades of dust and studied it. His human mind saw patterns in the alien design. If he rewired a few circuits, connected power lines differently, he could bring life to the ship. Not just life, but something more. As he worked, he found small things no one else noticed. A hidden maintenance hatch that led to the reactor. A series of conduits that ran through the ship like veins. He traced them with his hands, memorizing their paths. The ship seemed almost alive. Jalen whispered to himself, "You just need someone who understands you." Jalen slept little, eating only enough to keep his energy. His hands were scratched and greasy, his face streaked with dust, but his eyes shone. Slowly, he brought the ship back to life. Lights flickered on in the corridors. Air circulation hummed again. Even the ship's sensors, long silent, began to respond. One evening, as he sat in the captain's chair, he discovered something remarkable. A hidden panel under the console, covered with strange alien markings, contained control systems for the entire ship. Not just weapons or shields, but systems that could influence fleets remotely. Jalen could hardly believe it. No alien alive had understood this before. This is incredible, he murmured. His human mind raced. If he could unlock these systems, he could make the ship more than it had ever been. Faster, smarter, stronger. But first, he needed to understand the core, the heart of the ship. The power core was massive, humming with energy that had survived decades of neglect. It was surrounded by alien runes and warning signs. Most beings would have left it alone, but humans were curious. Jalen smiled. He carefully adjusted the conduits, rerouted some power lines, and added his own modifications. Sparks flew, and a low hum grew into a steady pulse. The ship's heart was beating again. It was not just a machine now. It was a vessel waiting for its master. Jalen explored deeper, finding hidden cargo bays filled with technology long forgotten. Some of it was dangerous, but humans were good at taking risks, especially smart ones. He mapped the ship, drew diagrams, and noted every system. Each discovery made him more certain this ship could be extraordinary in human hands. While working, Jalen realized that the galaxy had truly forgotten this ship. No fleets patrolled here. No aliens dared to check on it, and yet its potential was enormous. A human mechanic could take it from abandoned relic to something legendary. That thought made him grin. One day, as he adjusted a series of energy conduits, the ship responded in a way he had not expected. Lights blinked in sequence, almost like a signal. The ship was learning, adapting. Jalen's eyes widened. It was as if it recognized him. A partnership had begun. Human and machine, engineer and warship. But as he explored the command deck, he noticed a strange anomaly in the ship's navigation system. Coordinates flashed repeatedly, pointing toward an unknown sector. Curiosity burned inside him. What had this ship once been sent to? What had it seen? And why had it been abandoned here? Alone. Jalen knew the answers might be dangerous. Other species had wanted to erase this ship from history. But he did not fear danger. Humans had survived far worse. He carefully recorded the coordinates, traced the star charts, and prepared his tools for a bigger challenge, making the ship capable of traveling again. The first tests of the engines were delicate. He powered the main thrusters in short bursts, feeling vibrations through the deck. The ship moved, slowly but steadily. It responded to commands from the console. Jalen felt a surge of triumph. A human alone, with skill and patience, was breathing life into a forgotten giant. At night, floating in the quiet of space, Jalen often looked out through the viewports. Stars stretched endlessly. The galaxy seemed so large, so vast, and yet here he was in a ship abandoned by all, about to change everything. He thought of all the alien fleets that had ignored, ridiculed, or feared humans. He smiled. They had no idea what humans could do. By the end of the first part, Jalen had repaired most of the essential systems. Lights, life support, sensors, engines, all functional. The ship was no longer dead. But Jalen knew the biggest challenges were yet to come. Understanding the alien technology in depth, testing the ship's limits, and ensuring no one else discovered it too soon. As he settled into a temporary rest chamber, he looked at the glowing panels of the ship. It seemed to hum softly, almost like it was pleased. A thought crossed his mind. This is only the beginning. From forgotten and abandoned, we will rise. Outside, the stars continued to shine on the silent wreck, the galaxy unaware that something extraordinary was awakening. A human had entered a ghost ship and begun to turn neglect into brilliance. And the story of the forgotten wreck had only just begun. The abandoned warship hummed softly, a giant slowly waking from decades of sleep. Jalen stood on the bridge, his hands greasy from hours of work, and surveyed the ship that had once been considered lost to history. It was massive, intimidating, and dangerous, but only to those who did not understand it. Jalen did. He had spent weeks exploring every corridor, every hatch, every system. He had brought life back to the engines, restored air circulation, and even repaired the life support systems to support long-term travel. But the real challenge was turning this relic into something the galaxy had never seen before. A ship that moved faster, thought smarter, and adapted better than any alien fleet. Jalen began with the propulsion system. The engines, though functional, were old and inefficient. He removed broken conduits and replaced them with human-engineered circuits. He installed new thrusters, smaller but more precise, allowing the ship to move in ways the original designers had never imagined. The alien designs favored brute force, straight lines, predictable movement. Humans were different. Humans were clever. Using the ship's original power conduits, Jalen created a dynamic energy grid. It could redirect power instantly between engines, shields, and sensors. He spent nights working, often falling asleep at his console, dreaming of calculations and energy flows. By morning, he had solved problems that alien engineers had never noticed. Next, he focused on the ship's defensive systems. The alien shields were rigid, designed to withstand frontal attacks. Jalen studied the patterns and realized that they could be improved. Using human ingenuity, he adapted the shield arrays to respond dynamically. Now, the ship could sense incoming energy and adjust the shields instantly, covering the weakest points first. It was no longer a passive defense. It was an intelligent one. While he worked, Jalen's small drone zipped through corridors, scanning for errors and anomalies. It picked up strange energy readings in one of the cargo bays. Jalen followed and discovered crates containing alien technology long forgotten. Small devices that could amplify sensors, modules for communication that could reach farther than most fleets, and tools that could modify systems remotely. "These are incredible," Jalen whispered. His mind raced. He did not just want to repair the ship. He wanted to upgrade it. Humans were not just survivors. They were creators, and this ship was going to become their masterpiece. He installed some of the alien modules in the ship's sensor arrays. Now the ship could detect distant fleets, even in sectors the aliens had considered safe. It could see signals too faint for other species' instruments to notice. He reprogrammed communication modules to send encrypted human-coded messages, allowing him to test the systems without drawing attention. The real breakthrough came when Jalen discovered the ship's control systems. A hidden console, buried under decades of neglect, could interface with the engines, shields, and weapons in ways he had never imagined. He studied the alien interface and realized he could create modular commands, sequences that would allow the ship to perform multiple actions simultaneously. The aliens had designed it for simple commands. Humans could do much more. Jalen's mind worked like a machine itself, mapping every pathway, anticipating every problem. He rewired circuits, rerouted energy, and even modified the ship's AI core to respond to human logic. The ship was no longer a relic. It was alive, intelligent, and responsive, but there were risks. Alien fleets patrolled nearby sectors. If they detected the ship, they would send forces to investigate. Jalen had to test his upgrades carefully. He began with small maneuvers, moving the ship in short bursts, testing how it responded to sudden commands. The engines were faster than expected. The shields adapted seamlessly. The ship seemed almost proud of him. At night, floating in the quiet of deep space, Jalen reflected on the irony. The aliens had abandoned this ship, calling it worthless, and yet here it was, under human hands, becoming stronger than it had ever been. Humans were underestimated, ignored, and yet capable of wonders. Jalen smiled at the thought. He moved on to the ship's internal systems. Alien technology was advanced but rigid. Humans were flexible. Jalen redesigned storage bays to allow modular upgrades. Cargo holds became multi-purpose labs, capable of generating tools, repairing parts, or even creating energy modules on demand. He modified power conduits to support experimental devices. Every innovation gave the ship abilities no alien had imagined. As he worked, Jalen began to understand the ship's personality. The hum of the engines changed when he approached. Lights blinked in patterns that seemed almost like signals. It was as if the ship recognized him, responding to his creativity, his curiosity, his human ingenuity. The idea made Jalen grin. He was not alone. One afternoon, while testing a newly installed sensor array, he noticed something unusual. A small, unmapped vessel passed near the sector. Its sensors did not detect him, but the ship did. Jalen realized the ship's upgrades allowed it to operate in stealth mode, hiding from even advanced detection systems. He experimented with this feature, creating illusions of fleet movements, fake energy signatures, and phantom ship echoes. A single ship could now appear as multiple, confusing entire patrols. The implications were enormous. Humans had taken a neglected, abandoned warship and turned it into a ghost, a phantom capable of striking fear or avoiding danger entirely. Not with violence, but with intelligence. Jalen felt a surge of pride. This was what humans did best. They adapted, they innovated, and they survived. Days turned into weeks. Jalen continued upgrading the ship, adding modifications, testing systems, and anticipating every potential threat. He repurposed old weapon mounts to carry experimental non-lethal devices, modules that could disable engines, scramble communications, or create energy barriers, not to destroy, but to control the battlefield intelligently. Humans did not need to fight like the aliens. They fought smarter. Rumors began to spread. Other species began noticing strange anomalies in nearby sectors. Supply ships reported phantom fleets, strange signals, and impossible energy readings. Some suspected ghosts. Others whispered of human cunning. None could find the source. Jalen remained patient, watching, learning, and refining the ship's abilities. One night, while reviewing the ship's logs, Jalen found an old mission plan. The original crew had been sent to a contested sector, far beyond the known galaxy, and abandoned due to unforeseen events. He traced the coordinates carefully. The mission had failed, but the ship had survived. Humans had a chance to finish what the aliens could not. Excited by the discovery, Jalen began preparing for long-distance tests. He powered the engines and sequences that simulated interstellar travel, observing how the ship handled energy loads, shield adjustments, and sensor recalibrations. The results were promising. The ship responded faster than expected, adapting dynamically to every challenge. Jalen's modifications had worked beyond his imagination. He also began experimenting with the alien AI core. It had been dormant, designed to follow strict protocols. Jalen rewired it to respond to human commands, logic, and creativity. The AI began predicting optimal maneuvers, calculating energy redistribution, and even suggesting solutions to problems Jalen had not thought of. It was no longer an alien machine. It was a hybrid, alive with human ingenuity. As Part 2 progressed, the ship began to take on a reputation of its own. Across nearby sectors, whispers circulated of a mysterious human who had revived an ancient warship and made it stronger than any fleet. But Jalen did not seek recognition. Humans often worked in silence, creating wonders quietly, without fanfare. The climax of Part 2 came when Jalen decided to test the ship's full capabilities. He powered up every system simultaneously: engines, shields, sensors, communication, and AI coordination. The ship hummed louder than ever, glowing with energy that had been dormant for decades. It moved with grace, precision, and power unmatched by any vessel in the galaxy. Jalen floated in the bridge, watching readouts flash, systems respond, and energy flow smoothly. The ship had become more than he imagined. A relic, abandoned by the galaxy, had been transformed by a human mind into something extraordinary. It could defend itself, evade danger, and even manipulate other fleets strategically. But Jalen knew the galaxy would not ignore this forever. Other species would soon notice anomalies, question missing ships, and investigate strange signals. He would have to be careful. Humans did not need to fight. They needed to outthink, outmaneuver, and survive. He leaned back in the captain's chair, exhausted but exhilarated. The ship's hum seemed almost approving. A partnership had been formed. Human creativity guiding alien technology. Together, they were unstoppable. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The galaxy remained unaware that in the quiet of a forgotten sector, a human mechanic had turned an abandoned ship into something the galaxy had never imagined. And this was only the beginning, Jalen whispered to himself, a grin spreading across his dusty face. The galaxy thinks it's safe. They have no idea what's coming. The human mechanic had transformed a forgotten ship into something extraordinary. Now, drifting through the empty reaches of the sector, Jalen tested its limits. He had upgraded engines, intelligent shields, advanced sensors, and even a hybrid AI that responded to human ingenuity. But the real proof would come when the galaxy began to notice. Jalen had no interest in unnecessary battles. Humans were clever, not reckless. He needed to understand the galaxy's perception of him and use it to his advantage. The first step was stealth. Using the ship's new sensor cloaking and holographic projections, he could create the illusion of entire fleets, making it appear that human forces were far larger than reality. He experimented with small decoys first, holographic ships mimicking patrol patterns. It was simple, yet effective. Even the most advanced alien scanners struggled to distinguish truth from illusion. He monitored nearby sectors, watching alien fleets patrol routes, responding to what they believed were threats. Supply convoys took unexpected detours, fleets abandoned assigned zones, and rumors began to circulate. Pilots reported ghost ships, fleets that appeared and vanished, and signals that seemed to come from nowhere. Jalen smiled quietly. The galaxy was already being outsmarted, and he hadn't even begun the real test. Next, he focused on tactical systems. Alien fleets relied on strict protocols and predictable patterns. They measured power, counted ships, and calculated risk mechanically. Humans thought differently. Jalen programmed the ship to simulate multiple strategies, adapting to every possible scenario. It could analyze fleet movements, predict patrol patterns, and suggest maneuvers that would give him the advantage without fighting. Every action was subtle, yet effective. One evening, a nearby transport convoy entered the sector. It belonged to an alien trade coalition and moved cautiously, following strict shipping lanes. Jalen watched from the bridge, noting how sensors scanned the area, checking for threats. He activated a holographic decoy fleet. To the alien sensors, dozens of warships appeared, patrolling aggressively. The convoy diverted immediately, taking a longer, more complicated route to avoid confrontation. "Humans are clever," Jalen muttered, his eyes shining. The aliens had overestimated what it took to control a sector, and he had proven them wrong without firing a single shot. But curiosity pushed him further. What if he tested the limits of deception? Using the ship's AI, he projected multiple fleets across multiple sectors simultaneously. To distant patrols, it seemed the galaxy was crawling with humans. Every movement coordinated, every fleet perfectly positioned. Alien commanders panicked, believing a massive human force had suddenly appeared. Messages were sent, fleets were redirected, and chaos quietly spread. All because of one human and an abandoned ship. The hybrid AI also began learning faster than Jalen expected. It could simulate entire campaigns in minutes, predicting how alien fleets would respond to each scenario. The ship became a strategist, an invisible general, guiding human ingenuity. Jalen marveled at the possibilities. A human mind had taken what the aliens left behind and made it smarter than the original designers. As he expanded his operations, Jalen also discovered that the ship could influence communications. He sent false alerts, fake distress signals, and phantom commands that caused fleets to hesitate or reroute. The galaxy, which had ignored humans for so long, now began to fear the unseen influence of human cleverness. One day, while observing a fleet moving through a nearby nebula, Jalen noticed an opportunity. The fleet was rigid in formation, moving slowly through dangerous space. Using the ship's stealth and holographic projections, he simulated attacks from multiple angles. The fleet diverted, scattering in confusion. Sensors registered phantom explosions, energy spikes, and threats that did not exist. The aliens panicked, abandoning positions, rerouting supply lines, and questioning the loyalty of their own fleets. Jalen realized something profound. Humans did not need brute strength to dominate. They needed intelligence, strategy, and creativity. The galaxy assumed humans were weak. That assumption was about to be shattered. As the weeks passed, his operations grew bolder. He began experimenting with energy manipulation. By subtly adjusting the ship's power output, he could create false readings on alien sensors, making his ship appear stronger or weaker depending on what he wanted. A single human could appear as a fleet. A small ship could seem like a fortress. The galaxy's perception became his tool. But intelligence alone was not enough. Jalen understood that fear was a powerful motivator. Messages began to appear, carefully crafted, hinting at the presence of a human-engineered force. No one knew where it came from, how many ships were involved, or when they might strike. Commanders argued, alliances faltered, and mistrust spread. All without a single violent act. Humans had turned absence into influence, scarcity into power, and cunning into dominance. Even the AI began contributing more than expected. It started anticipating alien moves, suggesting not only how to avoid detection, but also how to manipulate entire fleets psychologically. Jalen listened to its advice, implementing strategies that caused the galaxy's order to fracture subtly, strategically, and efficiently. One night, he detected a small reconnaissance ship trying to scan his sector. The ship moved cautiously, sensors searching for anomalies. Jalen activated the ship's holographic system, projecting multiple fleets converging on the scout. The alien ship detected a threat and retreated immediately. Jalen laughed quietly. The galaxy had no idea who or what it was dealing with. News began to spread in whispers. Reports of phantom fleets, strange signals, and invisible human influence reached high-ranking officials. Many dismissed the claims as exaggeration. Some grew concerned. Humans, long underestimated, were suddenly a force the galaxy could not ignore. Despite his success, Jalen remained cautious. He knew that discovery would bring attention and possibly aggression, but he also understood that humans thrived under challenge. Observation, adaptation, and creative thinking were humanity's greatest weapons. A human alone could change the game without fighting, simply by outthinking the rest of the galaxy. The climax of Part 3 came when he decided to test the ultimate deception. Using the ship's full suite of systems, he created the illusion of an entire human fleet positioned across multiple sectors. Energy signatures, sensor readings, holographic projections, and AI-driven maneuvers combined to convince alien commanders that humans had arrived with overwhelming power. Panic spread through strategic channels. Commanders debated, fleets rerouted, and trade convoys altered their courses. All the while, Jalen remained hidden in his abandoned sector, observing the galaxy react. He had turned perception into power. He had made the galaxy respect humans, not through violence, but through intelligence and foresight. Yet, as he watched the confusion, he knew the real test was coming. Rumors of a human-engineered ghost ship had reached major fleets. Investigations would begin. Soon, the galaxy would seek the source. Humans, still underestimated, would face the scrutiny of the very species that had dismissed them. Jalen's thoughts turned toward preparation. The ship was ready, systems fully upgraded, AI tuned to human logic, and all holographic and strategic capabilities refined. He had created a masterpiece, but masterpieces are tested, and the galaxy's reaction would be the ultimate measure of human ingenuity. He floated in the command chair, reviewing the sensor logs. Every reaction, every rerouted fleet, every altered perception confirmed the same truth. Humans were clever, adaptable, and unstoppable when underestimated. The ship was not just a machine, it was an extension of human thinking, a tool that could manipulate, outsmart, and inspire awe without ever firing a weapon. Outside the viewport, stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the silent human genius at work. And yet, for the first time, the galaxy began to take notice. The abandoned ship, once forgotten, now symbolized human ingenuity. One mechanic had shown that brains, creativity, and patience could achieve what armies could not. As Part 3 ends, Jalen transmits a simple message through the galaxy's encrypted channels. You abandoned it. I revived it. Think again. It is not a threat. It is a statement. The galaxy understands for the first time that humans are not to be underestimated. And in that quiet, powerful moment, Jalen smiles. The ghost ship waits, ready for whatever comes next. The galaxy may not know where it is, or what it can do. But one thing is certain. Humans have arrived, and their genius cannot be ignored. The galaxy was whispering about a ghost ship. Rumors traveled faster than fleets, carrying tales of a human-engineered vessel that seemed to appear everywhere and nowhere. Commanders in the largest fleets debated its existence. Was it a fleet? A single ship? Advanced AI? No one knew. All they knew was that humans were involved, and for the first time, species across the stars were afraid, not of violence, but of intelligence. Jalen floated in the bridge of the ship, reviewing the latest reports. Supply convoys were rerouted without explanation. Patrols abandoned sectors, claiming anomalies. Even warships hesitated when scanning the empty void. Every fleet he observed fell into predictable patterns, and every pattern he had predicted months ago played out perfectly. The ship, his creation, was executing strategies with precision far beyond any alien design. But Jalen was not satisfied. He wanted more than fear or confusion. Humans had always thrived through ingenuity, creativity, and subtle influence. Now was the time to show the galaxy that human brilliance could reshape perception itself. He started by simulating a massive human fleet across the core sectors. Holographic ships, energy signals, and AI-controlled decoys created the illusion of an overwhelming human presence. Commanders panicked, assuming they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Entire supply routes were redirected. Trade negotiations paused. Even alliances that had once been stable questioned their members. One human mechanic in one ship had made the galaxy think humans were a dominant superpower. But Jalen did not stop there. Using the hybrid AI, he began coordinating real-world subtle interventions. He sent encrypted signals disguised as fleet commands, guiding alien convoys to safer routes while avoiding unnecessary conflict. He disrupted patrol rotations in ways that prevented collisions, shortages, or accidental confrontations. No one was harmed, yet the galaxy itself began to feel the influence of human planning. The galaxy's attention sharpened. Leaders began sending reconnaissance missions to discover the source of the ghost fleet. Jalen observed silently. Every ship that entered the sector saw only illusions, false energy spikes, and phantom fleets. Nothing real gave them evidence. The humans' power lay in perception, strategy, and intelligence, things no weapon could replicate. During this time, Jalen also enhanced the ship's AI further. It could now simulate months of fleet movements in minutes, suggesting optimal maneuvers to avoid detection, protect trade lines, or mislead adversaries. The ship became a partner in thinking, not just a machine in motion. It was alive with human creativity and adaptability. Jalen marveled at the results. A single human mind had turned a derelict alien warship into a galaxy-wide influence engine. Yet, even as he worked, Jalen faced a new challenge. Alien factions began sending exploratory fleets closer to the abandoned sector, determined to discover the source of the phantom human fleet. If discovered prematurely, the element of human advantage would vanish. He needed to remain hidden, maintain control, and guide the galaxy's perception carefully. Jalen devised an elegant solution. He created multiple ghost zones around the sector, each projecting decoy energy signatures, holographic fleets, and false navigational anomalies. Alien scouts would enter, see what they thought were human forces, and retreat immediately. By the time any real investigation reached the true location of the ship, the fleet would already be misled, delayed, and wary. Humans could strike, or influence, without firing a weapon. Days turned into weeks. Reports of anomalies continued to spread. Entire fleets debated strategy based on information that had no real origin. Supply routes avoided sectors, and warship patrols hesitated. Commanders who had once underestimated humans now wondered if an unseen human armada had emerged. Jalen realized the truth. Humans were not meant to follow alien patterns. They were meant to invent their own. While the galaxy relied on predictable protocols and strength, humans relied on imagination, logic, and adaptability. One human, with cleverness and patience, could outthink dozens of fleets simultaneously. The pinnacle of Part 4 came when a major coalition fleet entered the sector. It consisted of dozens of warships, the most advanced the aliens could muster. Jalen observed from the bridge. The fleet's scanners detected multiple human fleets converging from every direction. Energy readings, sensor projections, and holographic maneuvers suggested overwhelming force. The fleet commander debated with officers, unsure whether to advance or retreat. Jalen activated the ship's full holographic projection, creating the appearance of additional fleets, support vessels, and even decoy weapons platforms. The aliens were convinced the human fleet had surpassed anything they had ever seen. Panic and respect filled their ranks simultaneously. Instead of attacking, Jalen took control of the situation subtly. Using communication channels, he sent messages designed to guide fleets to safer zones, avoid conflict, and reroute supply lines. No one noticed the influence as human. All they saw were logical instructions, but behind them was the genius of a single human mechanic guiding a ghost ship. By the end of the operation, the Coalition fleet had moved hundreds of kilometers out of key sectors, convinced of overwhelming human presence. Not a single shot had been fired, no lives were lost, and yet the galaxy now understood one undeniable fact. Humans were clever, adaptable, and unstoppable when underestimated. Jalen leaned back in the captain's chair, exhausted but exhilarated. The ship hummed with life, responding to his presence, guiding every movement, and adapting to new challenges. It was more than a warship. It was a testament to human ingenuity, patience, and creativity. A partnership between human mind and alien technology had created something extraordinary. Outside, stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the silent genius at work. Yet, in that quiet, the galaxy began to change. Humans were no longer ignored, ridiculed, or underestimated. Whispers of the ghost ship and its mysterious mechanic reached high councils, inspiring both fear and awe. Entire civilizations began reevaluating humans, wondering what other hidden strengths lay dormant in a species that had once seemed weak. Jalen knew his work was only the beginning. The ship could remain hidden, continue influencing sectors, or even travel to distant galaxies to test human ingenuity further. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. From the neglected wreck abandoned by all, humans had created a masterpiece. A ship that proved one thing above all: intelligence, creativity, and adaptability could achieve what brute force never could. As he prepared the ship for a temporary retreat into a hidden outpost, Jalen reflected on the journey. The galaxy had written off humans for too long. They had underestimated patience, cleverness, and human ingenuity. Now, in a single silent sector, one human had rewritten perception, altered fleets, and forced entire civilizations to rethink what humans were capable of. The final moment came as he watched the stars outside the viewport. The ship hummed quietly, almost in approval. It had survived neglect, abandonment, and near destruction. It had been rebuilt, reimagined, and transformed by human hands. Together, human and ship had become more than machine or mind. They had become a symbol of what humans could achieve when underestimated. Jalen whispered, almost to himself, "The galaxy thinks it has rules. It thinks it understands strength. But humans, we are different, and we are just getting started." And in that quiet, eternal stretch of stars, the abandoned ship, once forgotten, floated with renewed purpose. No alien fleet could claim it. No legend could erase it. Humanity had risen from the shadows, clever, patient, and unstoppable. The galaxy would remember this moment, and the story of a human mechanic and a neglected ship would be told across systems for generations to come, not as a tale of war, but as a tale of intelligence, ingenuity, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity. The ghost ship waited, alive, vigilant, and ready. And its human pilot was only beginning.